Good morning, everybody. As y'all coming in, hope everybody's had a great start to the month of August, or a great day whenever you happen to be checking this. We have it on replay. By the way, make sure you are catching these lives when I put them out, because we're gonna be taking the replays down. They're only going to be available in the back end of Work on Your Game University. So if you are not checking these, or you're missing it, or you didn't catch the whole thing, make sure you check it within like 24 hours. We're gonna take these down, and then we're going to be moving them again to the back end of Work on Your Game University, which is the link in my bio. So to the topic here today is the demands that your best self will make of you. So basically what this is about, folks, is you as your best self. Teddy Tudor, good morning. You as your best self, what would your best self demand of you? Is it the best version of you? So whenever you would hit that version, what are the things that would be demanded of you in order for you to stay at that level? And based on who you are now, in order for you to get to that level, these are the things that, if you want to catch the secret here, these are the things that you need to start implementing right now in your life. That's what this is about. It's about what the best version of you would demand of you in order for you to get there, and also for you to stay there. Basically, being the highest level version of yourself, folks, is like a membership. It's not a one-time purchase. It's not like you go to Amazon and you pay one time for the product and then you get it and then you're good. It's a membership, kind of like going to the gym, where you have to keep paying every month to continue having access to the gym. Or like you pay your phone bill or your internet bill or your mortgage or whatever, anything you have to pay consistently. That's what this is about. And I'm going to tell you three things. This is not an all-inclusive list, but three things specifically that you need to start implementing in your life right now to make sure you're being the best version of yourself. Or you can check yourself and ask yourself, am I doing these things right now, or am I not doing these things right now? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books, 4 TEDxTalks, created this brand called Work on Your Game. We take the tools to help athletes get to the top of the sports game, and we translate those tools over to the business and the life game. This is personal and professional development. Point number one, we're talking what your best self would demand of you. Number one, no wasted time allowed. Best version of yourself does not allow any wasted time. None. No wasted time. And one of my favorite books on time, what we call time management, is not really time management because you can't manage time, but time control, is called the No BS book for No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. It's written by a guy named Dan Kennedy. And one of the things that he mentions in the book, and I suggest you read the whole book, I just sent it actually to one of our university members this week, is that high level performing people operate on extreme deadlines and under extreme time pressure. And that's deadlines and pressure that they have created systematically on themselves. It's not somebody else making them do things at a certain time or at a certain pace. They create structures and systems that force them to do things at a certain time and at a certain pace. And time pressure and extreme deadlines, that's what your highest level self needs. Why? Because all of us as humans, we have a limited amount of time on earth, or we call that life, right? And when your time runs out, we call that death. Everybody agrees that at some point, everybody's going to die, right? Which means we all have a limited amount of time within which we can achieve everything that we want to achieve. And any time that we waste time and do things that are not moving us towards reaching our goals, we are literally running out of time in order to reach the goal. Any minute that you spend not doing something that's getting you closer to your desired outcome is a wasted minute. And the highest level version of yourself will not tolerate wasted minutes. Simple as that. So if you want to be the highest level of yourself, you do not allow 15 minutes to get sucked away through mindless scrolling on one of these apps. I'm on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok at the same time right here. Now, this is not mindless listening to me because I'm giving you actual substance, but there's a lot of mindless nonsense on these apps that the app is designed to make you waste time. Y'all understand this, right? If y'all understand how social media works, they're not going to like that I'm saying this, but how social media works, it's designed to suck as much of your time and attention as possible. Then they charge a toll to the advertisers to show their stuff to you while you're scrolling. And then the app makes money off the charges for ads. And then the people who are selling, they make money by selling their products to you, and you make nothing because the product is literally your time and attention. So your product is getting sold, your time and attention, and you make no money. That's how social media works. So they are literally using you. All right, that's what they're doing. Social media is using you to take your money take your time and attention rather, which is more valuable than your money. And then they're making money off it. And then the salespeople are making money off it. and you make nothing. All right. So if you didn't know, now you know that your highest level version self does not allow your time to get wasted. Doesn't mean that you don't use social media. I use social media. If you are following me on either one of these apps, you see that I post on social media a lot. I probably post more than most of you post. But here's the key. I use social media as a producer, not as a consumer. So I do not scroll on social media. So anything that's going on these apps, I don't know about it because I'm not scrolling and looking at other people's posts. So you'll never see me liking anybody's posts. You won't see me commenting on anybody's stuff on either one of these apps because I do not scroll and I don't know what anybody else is doing. And I generally do not care what anybody else is doing. On TikTok, I'm not even following anybody. We just post and I don't look at it at all. Only app on which I scroll is X, formerly known as Twitter, because I use that as that's like the town square where we talk about current events and things that are going on. That's the only app you'll see me actually engaging with people. And on Instagram, I'll reply to people who comment on my stuff, but I'm not commenting on anybody else's stuff. I don't care what happened. I don't care that your son had a birthday. I don't care that you got married. I don't care you bought a new car. I'm not commenting on anybody's stuff because I'm not scrolling and I literally do not pay attention to other people's stuff. So the best version of you, folks, is highly time efficient and highly time effective because you value your most valuable resource, which is your time. Everybody understands this. Okay, so we all understand there are 5 forms of investment. In case you didn't know, 5 forms are time, money, attention, energy, and focus. Time is the most valuable one. It's worth about 60% of the pie. So out of 100%, time is worth 60%. And then the other 4, money, attention, energy, and focus, are each worth 10% each. That adds up to 100%. Now, why is time worth 60%, 6 times more than everything else? Because if you run out of money, you can make more money. Any of you ever ran out of money and made more money? Okay, so you kept living though, right? If you run out of energy, you can take a nap or go to sleep or drink a Red Bull and you'll have more energy. If you run out of attention, you can go get some sunlight, go touch grass, as they say, change what you're paying attention to, and your attention will go up. And if you run out of focus, same thing. You'll go take a nap, go change whatever your focus is on, and you can get more of it. So understand that when you run out of money, attention, energy, or focus, you can get more back. But if you run out of time, you die. All right. Running out of time is called death. All right. Then that's why time is the most valuable resource that you have, because you can run out of the other 4 and get more back and bounce back from it. You can be at 0 and bounce back. If you get to 0 one time, then that's when there's a text message or a phone call or a email going out announcing to all your friends and family that you died. All right, so you don't want to run out of time. That's why the highest level version of yourself requires that you be super time efficient, meaning you set deadlines for yourself and you put time pressure on yourself to get things done and stop allowing your time to get wasted by anything that is on this device right here. This is where our time gets wasted the most. So be careful of how you're using this, or more accurately, how it's using you. Number 2, we are talking here today about what would your best self demand of you. For you to get there and for you to stay there, these are things that you must continually do. This is not a one-time thing, it's an all-the-time thing. Number 2, you must challenge and smash your self-imposed limits. This is a big one right here, because for you to get to the best version of yourself, you have to look at some of the limits that you've set upon yourself, some of the things that you think you cannot do, some of the things that you think you are limited to, and say, you know what, actually, this is not a limit. I can actually go further than this. I can do better than this. Now, here's the challenge with this one is that often you need some outside resources in order to challenge your self-imposed limits. The reason why you need outside resources, and when I say outside resources, what I usually mean is another person. Someone who will look at your situation and say, well, why are you doing it that way? Why don't you instead just do it this way? You're doing things like this. Well, why not do it like that? You don't even see it. The thing is, the reason why you need another person to show you is because sometimes you don't even notice that you have limits that you set up, upon yourself that you didn't even know about. There's this old anecdote of a man and a woman, husband and wife. They're at home making a ham, and the wife is about to put the ham in the oven, and she cuts off the ends of the ham. And the husband says, why are you cutting off the ends of the ham? And she said, well, because my mom always made ham. She would always cut off the ends of the ham. And husband said, well, it doesn't make any sense. That's perfectly good ham. Why are you cutting it off? So she calls her mom to find out. She said, Mom, why did you always cut off the ends of the ham? Because that's what I'm doing now. And the mom says, well, when my mom was making ham, she would always cut off the ends of the ham. So now they got to call the grandma. They call the grandma, say, Grandma, why did you always cut off the ends of the ham? And the grandma says, because my oven was so small that the whole ham would not fit in. So I had to cut off the ends to make the ham fit in the oven. And this is one of those self-imposed limits. This is an example of a self-imposed limit that we end up putting on ourselves based on the fact that we're modeling what we see other people do, but other people have limits that we don't have. So your oven might be 10 times, well, let's not say 10 times, twice as big as your grandma's oven was. But you're cutting off the ends of the ham just because you saw her do it, but she was doing it for a specific reason that does not apply to you. So you have to check the limits that you're putting on yourself that have nothing to do with you. There's a guy named Roger Bannister. He was the first person, famously, he broke the 4-minute mile barrier, because for years, people had concluded and decided that it's impossible for anybody to run a mile in 4 minutes or under 4 minutes. It's impossible. Nobody can do it. It's scientifically impossible. No human is that fast. So finally, this kid, Roger Bannister, he wasn't even old. This kid breaks the 4-minute mile. He actually runs a mile in under 4 minutes. And as soon as he did it, even though for years nobody had done it and people had basically decided that they couldn't do it, as soon as he did it, within the next 3 months, a bunch of people started to break the 4-minute mile, and it became a normal thing. And nowadays, you got kids in high school who can run a 4-minute mile like it's nothing. What happened? Only thing that happened was a paradigm shift of people realized that, oh, this is the limit that we had just put on ourselves. It wasn't a real limit. It wasn't a hard limit. This was just a limit that we had in our own minds. And as soon as that limit got broken in the mind, then everybody realized, okay, this is something that I can actually do. I'll give you another example. This is author by the name of Jesse Itzler. He wrote a book called Living with a SEAL. And this is the book that, any of you familiar with this guy named David Goggins? This book introduced David Goggins, because the book was called Living with the SEAL. He never actually said David's name. He just called him SEAL throughout the book. And after that book came out, people liked it so much, they wanted to know who the SEAL was. And then they start interviewing David Goggins, and people started liking him. And then he became who he is. And some people, sometimes when I'm out, I get some people say, oh, I thought you were David Goggins, or anybody ever tell you like David Goggins? I look better than David Goggins, so please don't anybody compare me to David Goggins. Shout out to David Goggins, but please, I look a lot better than him. But anyway, in the book, well, actually, this wasn't in the book. Jesse said this in an interview that he was doing about the book. He said when SEAL first came to his house, because he was running these long ultra marathons. That's what David Goggins does it. If you ever see his videos, you see him, he's out running and stuff and talking while he's running. And Jesse liked running those kind of races. So he hired SEAL to come to his house and help train him to get in better shape to run these marathons. That's why he came. And the first day that SEAL came to Jesse's house, what he says is, where's the gym in your building? Because he lived in this high rise in Manhattan. So they go to the gym, and David says to Jesse, all right, how many pull-ups can you do? They go over to the pull-up bar. He said, how many pull-ups can you do in one set? Jesse said, I could probably do maybe 15. And David's like, all right, do 15 pull-ups. And Jesse does 15, 16 pull-ups. I guess he's trying to impress him. So he does 16 pull-ups. And this guy doesn't really lift weights like that. And after he did the 16 pull-ups, David said to Jesse, okay, we're not leaving the gym until you do 1,000 pull-ups. Literally 1,000 pull-ups. So they stayed in the gym for hours, and David sat there and made him do 1,000 total pull-ups. And can you imagine 1,000 pull-ups in one workout? He made him do 1,000 pull-ups. And the point being, the reason I'm bringing that up is to help you all understand that nobody, I don't think you or me or anybody else, or Jesse himself, ever would have told himself, let me do 1,000 pull-ups. So who would do 1,000 pull-ups in one workout? Nobody would ever think to do that. The point is, most people think that it's impossible to do 1,000 pull-ups in one workout, or it's stupid, or it doesn't make any sense. And I don't even remember where else he went with it, but I'm remembering that anecdote to help you all understand that often, this is my point, you need to have someone other than yourself with you to show you that you have some limits in your head that are not real limits. They are just illusions that you put in your mind. And as soon as someone challenges them and you realize that it was not even real, that all of a sudden you open yourself up to a whole new world of things that can be done. That's the reason why I brought up the 4-minute mile. It's the reason I bring up for you. To be the best version of yourself, there are some limits that you have in your head that are completely unconscious, that you are completely unaware that you have, that until you challenge and break those, you cannot become the best version of yourself. This is the reason why high-level performers have coaches. This is the reason why they have trainers. This is the reason why the entire industry, that entire world exists, is so that people can be pushed to do things that they didn't think were possible, or they never even considered to be possible, because you have your boxed in way of thinking. So you had to be moved outside of that box by someone outside of yourself. If you cannot do this, or you do not do this, then you will be ineligible or unqualified to be the highest version of yourself. Because the highest version of yourself will require you to do things and to think things that are outside of your current limits. So in order to get outside of those limits, you have to challenge the current limits. But again, many of you are not even aware of the limits that you have in your own head. So if you're not aware of something, you can't do anything about it. Everybody got it? You can't do something about something you don't know about. So you have to be aware of it in order to change it. And this is the reason why you want a second set of eyes, or a third or fourth or fifth set of eyes on you and your work and what you're doing, so they can look at it and say, okay, well, you're doing this. How about this? All right, you're looking at it this way. How about looking at it this way? So you can't do that by yourself, because you have your way of thinking. You have your mental wiring. Someone else has a completely different way of thinking, a completely different wiring, and they have a different experience. Those are the people who can help you see what you can't see. And one of my early mentors, when I first got into entrepreneurship, she used to have this saying. She used to say, you can't see yourself in the mirror. And what that means is there are certain angles about you and your life and your business that you would never pick up on just trying to look at yourself. But when you get other people to look at you from different angles, they can see things that you can't see. So for example, any of you ever been to a barber shop? The reason you go to the barbershop and don't cut your own hair is because it's hard to see the back of your head. You would have to hold up another mirror and kind of look and try to see if you can figure it out on your own. And barbers go to barbers and get their hair cut. Everybody doesn't do it on their own because we can't all see every angle. Other people can see angles in you that you can't see for yourself. As humans, our eyes are in the front of our heads. We can't see in the back of our heads. This is why we get outside help. Point number 3, we're talking here today about the demands that your highest level self would put on you. Number 3. This is the most important one, the one I'm about to give you. You are required to stop talking down to and of yourself. You have to watch your self-conversation. You have to really, really start getting cognizant of your self-talk, and you cannot allow yourself to talk down on you. If you had a friend or a coworker or a family member or a significant other or a peer or a boss who talked to you the way that you talk to yourself, you would not be friends with that person. If your boss talked to you the way you talk to yourself, you would quit your job, or you would go to HR and complain about the boss. If your significant other talked to you the way that you talk to yourself, you would break up with them or get a divorce. If your parents talk to you the way you talk to yourself, you would run away from home, or you would just stop talking to your parents if you're already an adult and already moved out. If anyone in the world talked to you the way that you talk to yourself, you would never associate with that person. If they were on social media talking to you the way you talk to yourself, you would block them and report them and not allow them to leave comments on your page. But the way you talk to yourself, this must change if you're going to get to the highest level version of yourself. Reason why is because the conversation you have with yourself is the most consistent and most constant conversation that you're having, which means you can have all the haters in the world, all the naysayers, all the negative people, all the trolls in your comments. Nothing that any of those people say and all of them put together, nothing that any of them do put together has as much impact on your psyche and your performance as what you are saying to yourself. Doesn't matter what anybody on the outside is saying. What you say to yourself is the most valuable thing that your subconscious mind is picking up on. First of all, because you're the one saying it. Secondly, because it's the most constant, it's the most consistent. So just by repetition and volume alone is beating everybody else. And third is because the things that you're saying to yourself is really how you are hypnotizing and programming your own mind, the internal conversation. And if you have questions or comments, I'll take them as soon as I'm done with this third point. So you're programming your own mind every single day, actually not every day, every minute, by the things that you're saying to yourself, the conversation you're having in your own head, not even stuff you verbally say, just things that you think. Your thinking is a Q&A session that is ongoing between you and yourself. And if you're asking yourself poor quality questions, you're going to get poor quality answers, going to lead to poor quality performance. That's how it works. Questions lead to the answers lead to the thinking, and thinking to the actions to the outcomes. That's how it works. So you have to be very, very careful about how you're talking to yourself. And if you start thinking about this and noticing the way that you're thinking and talking to yourself over the course of a day, you say, oh, no wonder that my performance is not where it's supposed to be. No wonder I'm not following through. No wonder I'm not having a discipline. No wonder I don't feel confident. No wonder I'm not getting the outcomes that I want, because you are beating yourself up verbally or mentally, let's just say, all day, every day with the things that you say to you. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Zig Ziglar, famous speaker from back in the day, he became a motivational speaker, but he started out as a sales trainer. He has a bunch of material y'all can find pretty much online these days, because he's been dead for probably a couple of decades. But a lot of his stuff you can find online. His name is Z-I-G, Ziglar. And one of the things that Zig would always say is that what I say to you is nothing compared to what you say to you. And it's the same thing that I'm telling you all right now. Like, nothing that I say to you has more impact on your mentality than what you say to you. So I will tell it to you. I'll give it to you, and you may like this and be inspired by it and motivated and like it and all of that. But the most important change happens when you take what I tell you and then you say it to yourself. That's when the change really happens. Because I could talk to you all day, and you're not going to change until you take what I say and you take it to heart and you start applying it to yourself. What starts with you telling yourself the same thing that I'm telling you. And it's the same thing when it comes to negative stuff. You can have a whole bunch of haters and trolls and people bashing you on the internet and in your comments and in your DMs. All of that put together does nothing compared to what you say to yourself. You have every hater in the world coming at you. You have a million people saying negative stuff about you on the internet right now. But if you have a positive self conversation with yourself, nothing that any of them says is going to get through. And understand the subconscious mind works off of three things: immersion, emotionalization, and repetition. All right, those are the three things the subconscious mind works off of: immersion, emotionalization, and repetition. So that immersion means that you are only taking in a certain type of energy. Emotionalization means you are emotionally connected or emotionally triggered or activated, let's say for a better word, by what you are taking in. And repetition just means it's happening over and over and over again. Here's the news. What you say to yourself is all three, because you're immersed in your own mind all the time. You are emotionally connected to your own thoughts, and you're doing it all day, every day. So immersion, emotionalization, and repetition is happening all the time in your subconscious mind with the things that you say to you. And if you don't fix this, you are unqualified to be the best version of yourself. Best version of yourself would never allow negative self-talk. So until you fix this, you are always going to be way behind your potential. So let me recap these 3 points. If you have a question or comment, put it in the comment section right now. What your best self demands of you. Number one is that you must, absolutely you must, put yourself under extreme time pressure and extreme demands when it comes to your scheduling, because no waste of time is allowed for you to be the best version of yourself. Number two is that you must check your self-imposed limits. And again, this one usually means you need to get some outside eyes and outside help. And again, look around. The highest level performers out there, none of them does it all by themselves. Only people talking about doing it all by themselves are people who are mediocre and not anywhere close to reaching their potential, because they're trying to do everything on their own. The problem is nobody has enough talent, time, or energy to do everything on their own. So if you're trying to do everything on your own, you are already unqualified to be the best version of yourself, because you can't. Or you're not good enough, talented enough, and you can't be in more than one place at a time. So how can you do everything on your own? You can't. And number three, stop talking down to and of yourself. You have to watch your self conversation. The highest level performers out there have they have hypnotized, literally hypnotized themselves with the way that they talk to themselves for a level of confidence, discipline, belief that translates to performance and translates to results. You're not getting you're not giving the kind of performances that you want or getting the kind of results that you want. You need to source that back to the way that you're thinking, which is limiting you and causing you to waste time. And sometimes wasted time doesn't mean you're scrolling on social media. Sometimes it means you're just not doing the things you know you need to be doing because you don't have the belief in yourself to do it, or you haven't disciplined yourself to do it because of the negative things that you're saying to yourself on a regular basis. So all of this stuff connects and it all works together. And if you like what you're hearing here, again, as I told you, these lives that we put up here, these are going to be in the back end of our university, which is the link in my bio, Work on Your Game University. And also, if you would like to have me as a direct coach, Work on Your Game University is the place where it happens. So if you got a question or comment, go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'll address them. Let me see if I got anything response worthy on TikTok, and then I will check Instagram right after that. So you got a question or comment, Instagram, put it in the comment section right now, and I will address. Let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2. Time, money, attention, energy, and focus. Yes, Greg Johnson, you got it right. Those are the 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, and focus, with time being the most valuable one by a factor of 6. Time is 60%. Money, attention, energy, and focus are 10% each. Adds up to 100. Because if you run out of time, it's over. Run out of money, you can come back. Run out of energy, attention, focus, you can come back. Run out of time, that's called death. Game over. All right, let's see. We got anything else? The red mushroom, good stuff. I'm glad you got value from it. Let's see. Anybody else? Okay. Someone said, "What's my opinion on early retirement?" I don't know how to answer that question. I need more context. What do you mean by that? And it's also off the topic, so I probably won't be able to answer that. Teddy, what's going on? Good morning. Yes, no waste of time. Social media doesn't have to be a prison. Just yes, depends on how you use it. So you added on to it right after that. D, oops, we still on Instagram? Push the wrong button. Domo the GOAT. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're getting value out of this. Shanita says, like everyone making 3-pointers now. Yes, it's actually a good example. People started shooting more 3-pointers, and now everybody's shooting 3-pointers. Now players are growing up wanting to shoot 3-pointers instead of wanting to dunk. That is true. You got it right. Teddy, I'm glad. You're going to subscribe to what? Work on Your Game University? That's what you should subscribe to. That's the place where you should go. Want to know where I can find the replay? Yes, well, the replay, I'm going to put it on my feed, but we're going to be taking these down after about 24 hours because we're going to be putting these in the back end to Work on Your Game University. And we got more stuff. We got a lot of stuff in the university for everybody to take their game to the next level. I'm going to take, how much time we got? We got 1 minute left. Got my work on it at 5 a.m. Good stuff, Rohan. How do I find out what's working for your content if you do not, how to find out what's working for your content if you do not engage with it? I don't know what you mean by that question, Greg. I don't know what you mean. If you do not engage with it, how to find out what's working for your content if you do not engage with it? I don't know what the question is. So one thing I did say here before I wrap this up is that I will engage with people who come into comments on my stuff, but I don't engage with comments on other people's stuff, if that's what you're asking about. So on social media, again, I don't scroll. I don't look at other people's stuff. I don't care what anybody else is doing. That is a time suck. It's designed to be a time suck. It's not that other people aren't doing interesting things, but if I'm paying attention to that, guess what I'm not paying attention to? Stuff that I need to be doing. So that's what I meant with the time pressure. So question one more time. David says, how do you improve self-talk when you have guilt and trauma from past failures? Get yourself a coach or get yourself some therapy, one or the other. Get some help from outside of yourself. This is the biggest challenge that I find with people who are not getting close to their potential is they're trying to do everything on their own and they're not successful in doing it. And then they just keep trying to do everything by themselves. The highest level people who I know and know of, they all go get outside help for things that they are not great at. And they focus on things that they're great at so that they're getting a high ROI from their activity. And then they get help with everything that they're not great at. So it looks like they're doing everything at this super high level. It's like, how is this person so good? It's because they're getting help with the stuff they're not good at. And the only things they do are the things that they're amazing at. That's why it looks like they're just so much better than everybody else. That's not the case. Where everybody else, they're trying to do everything on their own, where you're great at a few things like those high level people and you're mediocre or terrible at everything else. And then you're trying to do the things you're mediocre or terrible at, and you're getting mediocre and terrible results as a result because you have a bad formula. That's the challenge that most people have, is that they're operating off a bad formula, trying to do everything on their own. All right. So question is, when do you know when you should just read a book and apply it versus get a coach? I would say you get a coach and read the book. Whoever wrote the book, if you like it, get their coaching if they got it. Because if all you needed was just information, a lot of things that people put in there, let's say coaching, they put in books and they put in content. A lot of stuff that I coach people on, I talk about in videos and I talk about in books. But if that's all people needed, then there wouldn't be any coaching because people need hands-on application. That's the whole issue. And people need to ask the right questions and get answers to the right questions, not just any question and not just getting answers. And that's the biggest challenge that a lot of people have. That's the reason why we have our university. It's easy for people to get in at a entry level. And that's where you can get access to me. And then you can maybe graduate to higher levels of what we're doing. So again, that's the university. That's the link in my bio on both of these apps. All right, time is up, folks. We got to go. Work on your game. Everybody have a great Friday.